Did I ever tell you kids about the man who married a Pokemon? Yeah, it's time to return to Hisui for the anniversary of Pokemon Legends Arceus. And during the cold winter months like this, and after I've been watching season 2 of Kyokosuri, which introduced a Yuki-onna, I figured this was the perfect time to discuss the curious case of Froslass. So everything is set into motion when you meet with Mani, who tasks you with investigating whether or not there's any evidence of a village that once existed in the avalanche slopes of the Alabaster Icelands. Okay, seems like a simple enough little adventure, but after trekking through the snowy landscape we find two Snorunt. They run away, but they leave an old torn journal which includes the following entry. February 5th. I was on my way back to the village when a blizzard blew in. I decided to take refuge for the night in one of the mountain huts. I awoke at dawn due to some strange noise. Before me stood a garbed in a fine kimono. Our eyes met and her beauty stole the breath from my breast. Yet it was a terrible beauty, frightening to behold. I closed my eyes in terror, waiting for the to move on and leave me in peace. When next I opened my eyes, the had disappeared, leaving behind nothing but the driven snow. That's all for now, but we find the Snorunt once again, who are accompanied by a Froslass, which then attacks us. And after defeating it in battle, she drops the remaining pages of the journal, and it reads as follows. September 1st. It's hard to believe it's been years now since she and I began living together in the village. I was flipping through my old journal entries today and happened to be reminded of the I met once. In an odd way, it reminds me of the that I met that day. But I reminded myself that I live in the real world, not in a world of old fairy tales. Surely such things could be true. January 3rd. Why did I do it? Why did I have to remember that? Why speak of it to my dear? I regret so much, but it's too late now for her. She is gone. I've lost her forever. I know it. Disappeared, leaving behind nothing but the driven snow. Oh, whoa, why did I speak to her about it? If only I'd held my tongue, kept my silence, I wouldn't have ever been cursed to know such grief. Now this story has key parts missing for dramatic effect and to keep the mystery, but with the fact that Froslass appears to be involved, having owned the missing parts of the journal, and that we know Froslass is based on a yokai called the Yuki-onna, we can gather what's going on here. So Yuki-onna, literally meaning snow woman, are yokai that live in snowy regions of Japan. They often prey on the life force of travelers who get lost during snowstorms. They're characterized as having the appearance of a beautiful woman with powers of freezing, though it isn't uncommon for them to fall in love with their victims, as noted in the story by Koizumi Yakumo. I'll try to leave the story linked in the description, but the SparkNotes version of it is that two woodcutters, while traveling, take refuge in an old cabin for the night, where a Yuki-onna appears, freezing the older man. She spares the life of the younger man on the condition that he never tells anybody of what took place there. He eventually marries a wife and years later recalls his encounter with the Yuki-onna, thinking his wife resembles the yokai that he met. He tells her this and comes to find out that it was indeed her all those years ago. As he's broken his promise, she disappears and is never seen again. So with all of this context, it's pretty evident that the story written in the journals mirrors it almost exactly. And as I mentioned, the whole thing of Froslass being based on the Yuki-onna with its appearance and numerous hints in official media should hopefully be pretty clear. Plugging it all in, this is the story of a man who took refuge in an old cabin where he was awoken by a Froslass, the Pokemon universe's stand-in of the Yuki-onna. He noticed how beautiful she was, and while frightened, he was spared. The later entries imply that he's now married to a woman he met and thinks she bears a resemblance to the Froslass from all those years ago. And after he tells her, she reveals herself to have been the exact same Pokemon and disappears. Other ghost Pokemon have been implied to be able to take on the form of humans, as we've seen in some spooky moments throughout the franchise. So I guess this is just something Froslass is able to do, and various Pokédex entries about Froslass have claimed it to be the result of a woman who had frozen to death. Even as recently as Pokemon Sword, it said that after a woman met her end on a snowy mountain, her regrets lingered on. From them, this Pokemon was born. Its favorite food is frozen souls. So really it all kind of checks out. Though as with many other Pokemon, I still don't know if legends like this are the exact origin of all members of the species or are mostly just stories. I'm mostly inclined to believe that this is just a story, but the fact that Froslass has always been associated with a human woman is worth noting. Though the strange thing is that the Froslass we battled during this quest is probably the very same one met by the man who wrote the journal. And that story takes place even longer ago because, in case you've forgotten, we're meant to be finding evidence of an entire village that used to be in the Alabaster Icelands. If an entire village is no longer there and previously the only trace of it were stories passed down through family, then this must have been hundreds of years ago. So that man is long dead, but if the Froslass has the missing journal pages, she's supposedly the same one from the story, and would be hundreds of years old herself. But the fact that at the end of the mission we somehow lose the entire journal makes this all a little more spooky, leaving no solid evidence of what happened. But it's not like it didn't happen at all. I mean, I recorded the whole thing on my capture card. I feel like this isn't the end of our frosty friend, because in Diamond and Pearl and their remakes Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, there is one lonely little house on the way to Snow Point City. Inside, we find a woman who's surprised to have any visitors. She gives us the spell tag item, telling us it boosts the power of ghost type moves. She doesn't say much else, but once we leave the house and come back inside, she's gone. I think others have made the connection that she was meant to be a Froslass the entire time, because the little story does fit roughly with Legends of the Yuki-onna. Taking refuge from a snowstorm in an old cabin and meeting a woman there are the common plot elements. Though it is strange that she seems almost delighted to have any company at all and doesn't attack you or try to harm you. It could even be possible that this is the same Froslass we meet in Legends Arceus, because we already know she has a long lifespan. Perhaps after all this time she's grown even more saddened by the loss of the man she loved, instead living on her own and giving a small gift to any who stumble upon her dwelling. Recently, I've been watching the Diamond and Pearl series of the Pokémon anime and happened to watch the episode focused on Froslass. Of course, there's no real hint to anything about its mythological inspiration, and it mostly just wanted help finding a lost Snorunt, which is the main plot of the episode. Though near the beginning of the episode, it is acting in a way similar to most stories of the Yuki-onna, where it uses its appearance to trick wandering travelers. It's even capable of creating illusions, making the cast think they're inside a warm cabin when in reality they're inside an icy cave. This is another thing we've seen ghost Pokemon are able to do in the anime and in the video games sometimes. So I guess that also ties into it being able to take the form of a human. It's a cute little episode, but aside from that, there isn't much more to say on the topic of lore. At the end of this adventure, I still honestly feel sad for Froslass and the man who wrote the journal. Though I guess the moral of the story is to never tell your wife that she looks like somebody else. I loved all the little bits of story and side quests that we got to experience in Pokemon Legends Arceus. They all helped to make Hisui feel even more alive with everybody else's stories unfolding, and the lore that we got for so many Pokemon, especially those based off of yokai, was such a fun treat, even if it ended in tragedy sometimes. The biggest takeaway is that yes, a man is heavily implied to have married a woman who turned out to be a Pokemon, so do with that what you will. But let me know what you think about this little story and watch Kyokosuri. If not for the Yuki-onna, do it for Kotoko, please. Anyway, that has been the sad tale of Froslass. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the Great Gators, Justin, Cosmo Zero, Michaela, Mr. Pig Puncher, Phantom Pyro, Quago, Volity, and Pastel Blood. If you would like to support, get your name shouted out here, as well as access to emotes and comments and live streams, and maybe sometimes early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter for more memes. But anyway, this has been GatorEX, and I'll catch you all later.
「まだ知らないポケモンの世界がここにある」シリーズ最新作任天堂スイッチ「ポケモンレジェンズアルセウス」